Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here, and I'm pretty sure we can all agree, or at least most of us, obviously there's some people that might disagree, but I think most of us can agree that the current format of the competitive League of Legends season maybe sucks, but at the very least could be improved on. It's not great. Domestic league regular seasons are super boring, kind of lame. Even the playoffs are ultimately meaningless when you're really only judged your entire season by how you do at Worlds. MSI, yeah, it's interesting and it's fun, but it really kind of dragged on. That format kind of sucks. There's players talking about burnout, how all these schedules are way dragged out, too long, too many days, too much travel, all this stuff. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're reacting to this video from Markz on the Travis Gafford channel. I think it's cool that they've been pairing up, teaming up, doing a lot of stuff together, and they said how to fix the MSI format, the blame game. I think this is kind of interesting because I know something I talked to a little bit about earlier in the week was Danny saying, oh wow, I'm glad it's over. We need a little bit of a break before summer starts, and I talked about how that sucks. But also people have had a bunch of different hot takes about MSI and the format, how there was 66 best of ones played and then 3 best of fives, which is definitely a problem and is definitely an issue. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you look at like the regular season domestic leagues and all that stuff, especially in the LCS and LEC, not so much in the Eastern leagues, but we have that same problem. We play a ton of best of ones, very few best of fives when you look at the entire, kind of scope of games as a whole. And yeah, the season is too dragged out. It's too boring. And yes, League of Legends is the best esport. It is, the most exciting, the most interesting, the biggest. It's the S+ tier esport. And honestly, it's kind of impressive that it's been able to be so successful and so insane when it seems like there's better esports or different esports out there with just almost objectively better, more exciting formats. Obviously, people have had a ton of ideas like, hey, in the spring, we need to add some kind of tournament. Oh, franchising sucks. We need to do away with it. Oh, we need best of threes. Oh, we need best of twos, yada, yada, yada. But Markz actually has some ideas about how to fix MSI specifically, which I think is also interesting because hey, stage 1, where it was just the major regions beating up on the minor regions just getting dominated. They got to play like a couple games, hopefully against some other minor region. And if you were Order from Osh, you didn't even get to play against another minor region. You just got to play against NA and EU, go 0-8, and then go back home. And you're like, oh wow, that was a fun MSI where we got to literally do nothing and just get stomped 8 times. Yeah, we got to scrim and do some stuff like that. But if we just wanted to scrim, we could have just went on a Korean boot camp or whatever. So there was definitely some issues. Even the Rumble stage, it got a little bit better, but did the event need to be as long as it needed to be? Did there need to be so many meaningless best of ones? And then finally we finally get to the best of fives, and it's 2-3-0 best of fives. We really got one interesting and exciting best of 5 the whole time. How many exciting best of ones did we get? There was a couple between T1 and RNG, G2 against some of those teams. EG takes off some upsets, but overall, so many boring, meaningless games. So how could we fix this issue? Markz has a solution here. I'm going to drop a like on this video. Of course, you guys should always drop a like on videos that you enjoy on YouTube. I would appreciate that a ton. I know they do as well. It definitely helps us all out, and I want to help other people in the scene. But here, Markz kind of talks about some different things. He talks about with the old MSI, when they used to not have the major regions in the kind of first stage, it was just, the play-in stage or whatever. He just says viewership was bad. Nobody wanted to watch games without the major regions. When it's just Turkey against Australia, nobody watches, and that's bad for sponsorship. That's bad for viewerships, and it's cost inefficient for Riot to kind of put together the whole broadcast, the whole shebang, to not really make any money or not really make any views. And hey, as a content creator myself, I get that. I'm more likely, to talk about a TSM story than a Immortal story or something like that. So I totally don't blame them. So Markz says, with any new format, you have to have, he says, with the new format, you need 3 weeks of broadcast. You can't change the things too much. You need to have them on a single stream. Riot still doesn't really love splitting stuff on multiple streams, even though traditional sports do that. Maybe Riot will get to that at some point in the future. He says you need normal broadcast hours, 5 to 6 games per day. Major regions got to be playing from the beginning. You also need opportunity for minor regions to play against those top teams, to have some storylines, to have some upsets, to have some crazy games. Even though, again, this MSI was largely devoid of upsets. No dead games, which I think is a huge thing, and you have to give minor regions a chance for victories. So, hey, here is what Markz came up with, and I actually like this idea. We've seen a ton of different ideas. I posted a video about some of my ideas, going over some other people's ideas. Markz's idea involves a little bit of Swiss. And I had never really been too familiar with Swiss. I don't know, as a North American, as an American, we don't do a whole lot of Swiss stuff. None of our sports really do Swiss. Even as a child, like youth sports, we don't really have too much exposure to it. But recently, I've actually been watching a lot of competitive Pokemon. That's one of my, next favorite esports below League of Legends is like VGC 2v2 Pokemon double battles. And that's all Swiss. And recently, I've kind of been, coming more and more in favor of Swiss and understanding how it's a good, interesting format that leads to a lot of good and interesting games, especially, and I think it's something that could work well in League of Legends, especially in this best of one format we have going on. So here's what Markz thinks could be cool. You line up all the teams from all the major regions. Obviously, you have the champions. This would still keep, like the 14 champions or whatever. And you would have them all start out as 0-0, and you would have them play each other. He says, you should come up with some kind of power rankings, or it could be random. That's the thing with Swiss. It doesn't really matter who you play at the beginning. It could be random, could go from top to bottom in order of power rankings, whatever. But then, if you're 1-0, you move on to the green. If you lose, you move on to the red. And then teams that are 1-0 play teams that are 1-0. Teams that are 0-1 play teams that are 0-1. And it leads you through this whole bracket. And what it does is it makes the games very, very interesting. It makes the games very, very meaningful because each best of one that you win or lose then has some weight to it. If you are winning, you are getting closer and closer to making it out until you ultimately make it out to the knockout stage or whatever. And if you're losing, you're getting lower and lower. And then, ultimately it comes down to the point where if you get 4 wins, you advance. If you get 4 losses, you are knocked out, you are eliminated. And this is not a perfect format. There are some issues, and Markz talks about some of the issues. With the number of teams, it gets kind of weird, especially in these middle rounds, since the numbers don't work out perfectly because Riot has 14 teams at the event, I believe, and 14 obviously doesn't round into like all these perfect numbers and stuff. But man, this would be so fun. I would love this. I think this would be way more exciting to watch. Way more fun to watch. I think viewership would be way up. I think this is just almost objectively better than the current format that Riot has. Again, like I said, it is not perfect, but the format they currently have is not perfect. Now, one thing that I do think is a potential downside, it is so vastly different than anything that's been done in League of Legends before. It is so vastly different than the current MSI format that some people would be put off to that. I get it. People don't like change. People are afraid of change. Something's different. They're like, whoa, what is this? Give me my old stuff back. But this would be so cool. This would be so fun. And what I also love is that this Swiss style format ultimately leads him up to 6 teams. 6 teams are going to get 4 wins. They're automatically seeded from top to bottom. And what he has is this is leading into, first he it works out with being able to play like 6 games per day. It works in the current broadcast format, but it also leads into, let me find it here. You take the 6 teams, and it leads into a double elimination best of 5 bracket, which is another thing that the new MSI format, I hope they're looking at a new format for 2023. We don't even know if they are, but I think they absolutely should. Leads into a double elimination bracket with 6 teams. This is exactly what we need. Again, you cannot have 66 best of 1s and 3 best of 5s when 75% of those best of 1s were boring, meaningless, and an absolute waste of time. 2 of your 3 best of 5s were 3-0s and really not all that competitive. So we had like 20, if I'm being generous, best of 1s that were actually meaningful. And we had 1 best of 5 that was actually meaningful or a competitive series. That's a terrible format. Getting a double elimination bracket will allow more matchups between PCS, LEC, LCS, VCS. That'll be more interesting. You'll get more chances for the LPL and LCK to potentially play. If we could have got 2 best of 5s between RNG and T1 to really see who's the best, and then G2, even if they lost, maybe they would have had a chance to rebound. Maybe somebody could have pulled off some crazy upsets. We would have got to see a potential North America versus Europe best of 5. I'm not even a huge fan of double elimination. I think it has flaws. I hate that in League of Legends, the team that makes it out of the winner's bracket, if they lose once in the finals, they lose. I don't really think that's fair. I don't really think that makes logical sense or anything like that. But ultimately, double elimination is more interesting and more fun than the current format we have, especially at MSI. I think Worlds overall is a much better event, a much better format. But I think MSI has huge issues. And I really appreciated Markz posting this video because I think it's one of the more complete and thought out ideas that is actually pretty practical that Riot could take and make some only minor adjustments to and almost have a complete event format, one that would be way, way better and way more exciting overall. So I appreciate Markz for posting this, and I want to get it out to you guys. But that's pretty much it for this video. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate that so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about Markz's format, the current MSI format, or what format you would implement if you were put in charge of something like this. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe, stay up to date on all my latest content. Hope to catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.